And implications headline this week's matchup on baseball's biggest stage. The Atlanta Braves, powered by future Hall of Famer Chipper Jones, and impact players up and down the lineup, look to stay red hot against their NL East rivals, the New York Mets. The Braves have won 14 of their last 17, and that includes wins in the first two games of this series. An early home run on Friday night by Jason Hayward, staking the Braves to a 2-0 lead, and Paul Maholm, recently acquired from the Cubs, took care of the rest with a very tidy 3-hit shutout as Atlanta wins the opening game of the series 4-0. Last night, more offense early. Freddie Freeman with a 2-run double in the first off Johan Santana. In the second, after Santana had already been knocked out of the game, Freeman with a long 3-run homer. He drives in 5 on the night. More than enough offense for Chris Medlin, making just his 4th start of the season for the Braves. 6 1/3, 1 run allowed, and the Braves win 9-3. Oh, look at the standings right now. Hey, Washington lost today. A rare loss for the Nationals, beaten by Arizona. The Braves 4 back in the National League East and leading in the National League wild card race. And hi again, everybody. Dan Schulman, happy to be here along with Terry Francona, Oral Hershiser. Let's talk about the Braves. They were in a good spot a year ago at this time, but of course, Braves fans remember how that ended. An awful September. They did not make the postseason. Do you think they're in better shape to finish it off and make the playoffs this year?
Yeah, much better. And for a couple reasons. One is I think it's basically the same group as last year, and they're learning from that. The second reason, probably more importantly, is their bullpen is in much better position. They're scoring more runs offensively. They're not having as many one-run games, and because of that, those guys at the end of that bullpen are rested and raring to go.
And they didn't really make a big splash in terms of picking up players, but boy, the guys they've gotten have really helped them. You've already seen Paul Maholm, Reed Johnson, Paul Janisch, and tonight's starting pitcher, Oral, Ben Sheets is back.
Ben Sheets is back, having a second chance at his career. In '99, when he was drafted #1, that was a fantastic moment. And then in 2000, he wins the gold medal, and he pitches the final game against Cuba and does outstanding, a complete game. And now, after having a major dominant surgery on his elbow, reconstruction of the Tommy John ligament and the flexor tendon, he is back after a 2-year absence, and he could be just as dominant. The fastball is not there where it was 97, 90. Now it's 91, but the curveball that outpitches there.
They can score as well. The second best offense in the National League. A guy having another good season. Chipper Jones is standing by with a buster only.
Chipper, before the season started, you announced that you're going to retire after the season, but you're hitting .314 at 40 years old. What could change your mind?
Nothing. I was actually thinking about asking Francona if he'd make me his next hitting coach when he got his next job, but no, nothing can change my mind. This is it. I got 4 boys at home that I'm looking forward to spending some time with.
The 2011 Braves collapsed in September. What's different about the 2012 Braves?
Well, hopefully we've learned a big lesson from last year. Hopefully the next championship we win, we'll be able to look back on 2011 September and be able to say it was a good learning experience for us. I dare say I hope that we finish up a little stronger than we did last year.
Chipper, thanks. Dan, back to you.
All right, Buster, thank you. What do you think, Tito? You think Chipper could teach young hitters a thing or two?
A thing or 2 or 3? Yeah.
He is still swinging the bat well, and he's got some help in the Atlanta lineup. Freddie Freeman, Michael Bourne, and others. The Braves hoping to keep the good times rolling here tonight.
Queens is the most ethnically diverse urban area on the planet. It speaks over 100 languages and grew outward from the shadow of Manhattan without the nostalgia of the Bronx or Brooklyn. The world came to the borough with dreams of success and built the land of tomorrow alongside their team. If the Mets have learned anything from Queens in the last 50 years, it's this. To succeed tomorrow, you have to work for it today.
Welcome back to New York City, high above Flushing. You can see Arthur Ashe Stadium. We're right near the site of the 1964 World's Fair, and there in the distance you see the lights of Citi Field, the home of the New York Mets. Sunday night baseball on ESPN. The Atlanta Braves winning Friday night and again last night. Things are going pretty well right now for Freddie Gonzalez and the Braves as they lead the wild card race. They got a chance to make up some ground on the Washington Nationals tonight. The Nats losing earlier today to Arizona. The Atlanta lineup presented by Taco Bell. Michael Bourne, a full year of Michael Bourne this year for the Atlanta Braves, and he's putting up some big offensive numbers for the Braves this year. Also, Jason Hayward, healthier than last year, has already set a career high in both home runs and stolen bases, and this is his third year in the big leagues. And Freddie Freeman has been hot. There's a lot of length, a lot of depth in this lineup right now. A number of different hitters can do some damage, something that left-hander Jonathan Niesor will have to be, and obviously is, well aware of heading into this start tonight.
Yeah, Jonathan Nies is looking to finish this season strong. He has not really been a very good second-half pitcher in his short career, and the Mets are looking for him to finish it strong so that as they develop this rotation, he has been labeled as a major part of it, and they need him to be outstanding when August and September roll around.
Defensively, the Mets rank 13th of 16 teams in terms of fielding percentage in the National League. Mike Baxter gets the start in right field. Remember the great catch he made in left field in Johan Santana's no-hitter a couple of months ago. David Wright, two-time Gold Glover, is anchoring the infield, playing third base, and doing the catching tonight is Rob Johnson, his second stint with the Mets on the season. The Mets 8-20 in their last 28. The Braves 20-8. In their last 28, two teams headed in different directions as we are set to go here in New York. And a first pitch strike for the left-hander Nies is called by home plate umpire Larry Vanover. Bourne, a free agent at the end of the season. Loops one down the left field line. It'll drop in for a base hit, and Bourne with his speed is on his way to second and in there with a leadoff double.
And this is exactly what the Braves love out of Michael Bourne. Stays inside the ball, doesn't hit it quite on the barrel, but once that ball leaves the bat, watch him leave the box. He's thinking double all the way. And now Jonathan Nies already has to pitch, has no chance to settle into the game. Martin Prado probably has the right to bunt, to hit the ball the right side, but they definitely want to move Bourne to third and score first.
You can see Tejada, the shortstop, trying to keep Bourne close.
Oh.
Prado takes ball one. Wright is even with the bag, maybe a step closer than that at third. The infielders on the right side are backed up. And Prado, more of your prototypical number two hitter, as Terry said, a guy who can use the whole field, do a number of different things. A .293 hitter this year, a .293 career hitter, and another guy who's having a much better year than he did a year ago. That's kind of a common theme for a lot of these Atlanta hitters. You might recall Prado suffered from a staph infection last year that really damaged his season. Just outside, and it's 3-0. So Nies in an early jam, a leadoff double, a 3-0 count, and a dangerous hitter in Jason Hayward on deck with more hot hitters to follow behind him. Ball four. Walks him on 4 pitches.
And now the thought of moving a runner is out the window. Jason Hayward is trying to hit that Modell's or the Subway sign.
He's done that, or at least he's hit one over the fence 19 times this year. Another guy healthier than he was a year ago, and a shoulder problem. There's the Modell sign that Terry was talking about. And Jason Hayward's got subway power. He's got Modell's power and more. Hit a home run on Friday night. His knee starts him with a strike. The Braves talk about not only the improved hitting, the improved speed, scoring from first on double, scoring from first on a single a few days ago, playing better defense. You know, it's funny, guys. 2 years ago, he comes up instant star as a rookie. Then last year, Hayward struggles with injuries. The league catches up to him a little bit. A big step back. Now starting to get back where he was 2 years ago.
He went through a time where he doubted himself at the plate. He got in between. There were times to be aggressive. There were times in hitting counts he started taking. And it really took him experiencing that difficulty to really grow as a young man, not in character on and off the field, just as a ball player.
But in this one particular at bat, he is set up for a breaking ball right now after that last swing.
Chases a cut fastball that tails away from him and strikes out for Nice's first out of the night.
That's a nice call, Terry, that the breaking ball away, because they started him off away with a strike, that fastball. And then I'll tell you what, the fastball ball came, and then the fastball away in, and then that little bit of breaking ball that kind of was the repeat pitch of the first pitch to him. But that one broke a little farther away, and he got the big strikeout, Nice did.
So 2 on, 1 out, and here's Chipper Jones, always greeted with a lot of enthusiasm, shall we say, when he takes on the Mets here in New York. Some huge numbers in his career against the Mets. More of it back at Shea than more recently here at Citi Field. As Met and Brave fans no doubt aware, one of his sons' names is Shea, in honor of all the damage that he did in that stadium. And Oral will get it out of the way early. 1999 in a big series in September. 4 home runs for Chipper Jones in a big series that helped cement the MVP for him.
I think I had to turn my neck.
Runner going from second, throw down to third is not in time, and Michael Bourne steals third.
And interesting, this is interesting right here. Martin Prado actually did a really good job. Michael Bourne, he wasn't sure if Michael Bourne was quite going to go or not because he took that jab step, and he didn't want to make the out as a trail runner, so he kept his ground. Now the sac fly scores a run.
Bourne 7 for 8, stealing third this season, and that's his 30th steal of the year overall. So first and third, 1 out. The reason I made that reference about Oral, he was with the Mets in '99 when Chipper just went off in that series. Breaking ball grounded down to third, could be 2, and it is to end the inning. Nice gets out of major trouble in the first. So the Braves don't score. Atlanta will send 34-year-old Ben Sheets to the mound, making his 6th start of the season at the big league level as he continues this comeback. He'll be on the mound to take on the Mets when we come back after this. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Mas. And in part by Nissan's Summer Saving Days. Event ends September 4th. Visit ChooseNissan.com. Hurry into your local Nissan dealer. Back in New York, bottom of the first, no score. Braves and Mets wrapping up this 3-game series. Atlanta looking for the sweep. And for Terry Collins, it's about grinding it out and playing hard the rest of the way, even as the Mets have fallen on hard times in recent weeks. So look at their lineup tonight, presented by Taco Bell. They're very happy with what Ruben Tejada has given them as their regular shortstop. The Mets are 6th in the National League in runs scored. A real feel-good story back in June. Now, the Mets have not played well at all lately. Ben Sheets facing them for the second time since he began his comeback. His first start with Atlanta was against the Mets. 6 shutout innings. A guy who, as Oral has alluded to already tonight, battled back from not 1 but 2 serious elbow surgeries. Thought his career was over, was retired, was coaching his son, and then started cutting it loose a little bit, throwing the ball in his backyard. Felt good, throwing harder, throwing harder. Held a couple of open tryouts, really, for teams. And then, as Freddie Gonzalez told us before the game, was with his son in a tournament in the East Cobb area, which is very near Atlanta, one of the big baseball areas in the U.S., and decided to go throw at Georgia Tech for a number of teams. The Braves were there, liked what they saw, and here he is.
And he had no idea that he wanted to make a comeback. He was encouraged by his surgeon, Dr. Keith Meister, to just, hey, see if that elbow and arm works again. He had the flexor tendon surgery and Tommy John done at the same time, was out of the game for 2 years.
Missed all of 2009 after the first surgery. Had Tommy John surgery while a member of the Oakland A's in August of 2010. Missed all of 2011. But a guy who, of course, prior to all that with Milwaukee, was a terrific starting pitcher with some big credentials, including an all-star game start, an 18 strikeout game. Just got in on Tejada just a little bit. Fly ball to center, 1 down.
Well, Ben Sheets, when he was in his prime from 2004 to 2008, had a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. In this comeback, he has been throwing fastballs around 89 to 91. He's touched 93. And a lot of times his fastball has been up, and that would usually be a negative, but he has an outstanding curveball that comes right out of that high fastball window that he's been using to fool hitters to the tune of a 1.41 ERA.
Oh. Here's Mike Baxter, the right fielder, who takes just outside, ball 1. Baxter missed a couple of months with a fractured collarbone that he suffered making that great catch we talked about in Johan Santana's no-hitter back in June. And the Mets just not getting a whole lot of offense at all out of their outfield. So Terry Collins trying different people, platooning some now, just trying to find somebody who's going to swing a hot bat. And a curveball lined over the head of Ugla into right field, a base hit for Baxter. That'll bring up David Wright. Hitting .324. That is 6th in the National League. Although he has cooled off some. In the last 22 games, hitting just over 200. He's sitting on a couple of nice career milestones. You can see he's 1 home run away from 200. He's 1 RBI away from 800. And the overall numbers on the season still very strong for David Wright.
I think in talking with Terry Collins today, we all got the impression that David Wright cares so much about winning that he tried to put the team on his shoulders all by himself. Started expanding the zone a little bit.
As we mentioned, there was a time earlier this season when the Mets kept getting that big 2-out hit. A different hero stepping up every night, if you will. But as everybody else cooled off, it seems that Wright's fortunes kind of went south along with him.
Well, nobody could stay as hot as he was, and no one in the lineup picked up the slack when he cooled off.
Yeah, Lucas Duda, who's got some power, wound up in the minors. He's still there right now. They're hoping to get him back, bring him back at some point soon. Ike Davis went through a real hot stretch, but then he kind of plateaued. Davis in the on-deck circle. 20 home runs on the season, but hitting just .214. Curveball blocked nicely by Brian McCann behind the plate.
Now, the one nice thing about having Baxter hitting second is that in situations like this, if New York wants to, they can put him in motion.
Now let's see if they do it here with a full count. He's going. And it's sent down the right field line. A fair ball. Baxter around to third, getting away. Throw goes into second as the run scores. Skips away. Wright's on his way to third.
Now, even before, with Baxter running, he doesn't even look. He's scoring all the way. He's his own coach, and there is no slowing down. So even before this ball goes to second, and with Wright moving to third, this was still a great running play by Mike Baxter.
Should the throw have come in toward home plate instead of to second base?
No, I think the play, again, I think it was a great play. You want to eliminate big innings. It just, you hit the runner in the back. That's an unfortunate error. I actually thought it was a very heads-up play by a young, good outfielder.
The scoring on the play is a double and an RBI for David Wright, so that's career RBI number 800. And Wright takes third on a throwing error, and he'll now come in to score on a base hit by Ike Davis, and it's 2-0 Mets.
Well, the Mets offense that's been anemic of late, really for the last month or so, jumping on Ben Sheets. David Wright, a nice piece of hitting the ball to right field. Ike Davis jumping on a curveball right there that Sheets was just trying to get ahead for a strike.
And in a lot of instances in the first inning, teams will play the middle infield back, and if the Braves would have, that's a nice little looping liner, and you got 2 outs and nobody on. It's not the wrong play. It's just what some guys decide to do.
Now Daniel Murphy, the batter, but he'll look at his strike. Murphy has raised his average up to .299, hitting very well here at home at Citi Field, and hitting .360 since late June. Does not have a lot of power. Only 4 home runs on the season, but he's got 33 doubles.
And he's the one guy in their order that handles the bat well enough where they could put a slower runner like Ike Davis in motion and protect him with the bat.
One ball, 2 strikes. Oral, you've seen Ben Sheets on video a couple of times. What are you seeing from him in person here tonight?
Well, talking to scouts around the league, they saw really good stuff the first few starts, but they thought he was getting away with some bad locations. A lot of balls in the middle of the plate, not quite the velocity they were used to, of course. But they really think that he might be hitting a dead arm stage because the velocity the last couple starts has started to come down. Remember, this is his 6th start.
Liner to left field, caught by Prado. Hard hit ball, but it's out number 2.
And this is the pitch right here, this line drive. Even though it's an out, it's an F7. This ball's right down the middle with not a lot of movement, not down by the knees, down below the knees, kind of something you do your tee work with. And that's the kind of pitch and location that the scouts have been saying, with the velocity coming down a little bit going into his 6th start, 88, 89, sometimes 90, and being that straight and that elevated, that he's been getting good fortune from his defense, like on that play right there.
So 2 runs in, 2 outs in the inning, a man at first, and the left fielder Jordani Valdespin is up for the Mets. He'll look over the curveball and take it low, ball 1. Valdespin, who is a natural infielder, getting some time in the outfield, Tito, because they're looking for offense. Jason Bay's not hitting. He's become a platoon player now. Valdespin getting a chance to play.
And Jason Bay, that's the guy they really wanted to get him back and get him hot and get him in the middle of the order. And it's just been a miserable 140 at-bats, even by Jason Bay's admission. He's probably harder on himself than anybody.
2-1.
What I was going to say, though, is Orel, does it feel like to you like Ben Sheets wasn't able to settle into the inning because of that double? He didn't throw many breaking balls. You know, all of a sudden you're a hitter into the game, and you feel like you're right smack in the middle of the game before you can get comfortable.
Yeah, I'm sure that when you're used to throwing 97 and you make a comeback after being out of the game for 2 years, that you feel a little naked on the mound with a 91 or an 88 mile-an-hour fastball, and you feel like you need to go to your off-speed stuff. But the Mets saw him in his first start. This is the second time around. He might be trying to change his sequences up so that he doesn't go immediately at breaking ball, and it might have burned him in this inning.
Full count now with 2 down. So the runner Davis will be on the move from first.
Now, this is an exceptional comeback by Ben Sheets. I mean, 4-1 with a 1.41 coming into this outing after being 2 years out of the game. But it's just the eyes of the scouts and watching him.
And a swing and a miss on the curveball to get him and end the inning. The Mets, though, score a couple off Sheets in the bottom of the first to take a 2-0 lead. The hot-hitting Freddie Freeman will lead it off for Atlanta in the top of the second. Ben Sheets gives up a couple of runs in the bottom of the first. The Mets lead 2-0. As we go to the top of the second, the Mets try to salvage the final game of this 3-game series with Atlanta. The Braves about as hot as they get coming into the game tonight. The Mets about as cold as you can be coming into the game tonight. And again, this is a big one for Atlanta because the Washington Nationals, for the first time in 9 games, lost today. Freddie Freeman fouls off another one, and the count is quickly 0-2. The Nationals beaten 7-4 by Arizona, so Atlanta's 4 back right now. Yeah, they're leading the wild card race, but remember the new format. You want to avoid that 1-game playoff if at all possible. They're still trying to chase down the Nats.
And you walk in their clubhouse and they openly talk about how important it is to put some pressure on the Nationals so they don't get in a 1-game playoff.
A fly ball ripped Deep right center field and gone. Another home run for Freddie Freeman. Homered and drove in 5 in last night's game and launches one to deep right center here in his first at bat tonight.
I mean, let's not just look at the home run swing. Let's watch the whole sequence. From the first pitch of the, look at this, boom, he's all over that. He's all over that. Good take, bam. This is, you're looking at a guy that they better pitch around the rest of the night.
Now Dan Uggla, first pitch swinging, pops it up on the infield. And Murphy makes the catch, one down.
And you say they better pitch around him because those pitches are all in the same spot. Pretty decent pitches, but he was locked in.
He was, from the first pitch was thrown, he was coming unglued. It's like put your seatbelt on and hang on.
That's RBI number 75 for Freddie Freeman. He is 6th in the National League in RBIs this year. And it's his 4th home run against the Mets this season. And 2 pretty good building blocks you saw in that shot as Brian McCann steps in Jason Hayward and Freddie Freeman. Homegrown guys, young guys, talented guys.
And how about a difference in when we saw him a couple months ago? Freddie had the trouble with his tear ducts, and he couldn't, you know, he was sitting out and he was frustrated. And now you take swings like that.
McCann with the shift on, grounds one to right, the third baseman, 2 down.
A little different look when you see him over there on the bench. He was on the bench earlier this year with the eye problems. The moisture in his eyes was too dry, it was too wet. He didn't know what to do. He kind of scratched his cornea in Colorado. But now he can see the ball, and that sweet swing is back. And it's not only back just for average. That power is different than we've seen.
The batter, Paul Janisch, the shortstop. The guy the Braves picked up from the Reds. He was at their AAA affiliate with Zach Cozart. Now the shortstop in Cincinnati. And the book on Janisch has always been great glove, doesn't hit very much. And that's what he's done for Atlanta. But with the injury to their young prospect, Andrelton Simmons, they were looking for somebody to catch the ball, and Janisch can certainly do that. And every now and again, he'll drop a base hit on you.
And this may not lead to a run this inning, but it turns the lineup over for Atlanta. That's huge.
Gets the pitcher up there. Sheets 0 for 8. Takes down an in ball 1. And we've seen from Neese, the big pitch role that he's used a lot tonight is that cut fastball, running it in on the righties. That was the pitch he kept throwing to Freeman, a left-handed batter.
He's got a slight crossfire delivery. Starts on the third base side of the rubber and kind of crosses over a little bit as he delivers. And then he likes to run it in on the righties. That's the curveball. The thing about Neese and his development with the Mets is the fact that he's just trying to learn to stay away from the big innings, and giving up the home run and then getting out of this inning, keeping the damage control down, that's success for him.
Strikes out Sheets. Some netting prevents that bat from sailing into the stands, thankfully. And the inning is over. Freddie Freeman does it again. Another home run for the Atlanta first baseman. And the Braves are on the board. We're going to the bottom of the second. The Mets lead has been cut in half. Bottom of second, Mets 2, Braves 1, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Dan Schulman, Terry Francona, Oral Hershiser, Buster Olney here at Citi Field. Ben Sheets facing Andres Torres to begin the bottom of the second. And the Mets center fielder takes outside, ball 1. It'll be Torres, Rob Johnson the catcher, and then Jonathan Neese the pitcher. The 7, 8, 9 hitters in Terry Collins' lineup tonight. Out in front of the changeup, it's a ball and a strike. Torres hitting .242 on the season. There's the curveball, and he's out in front of that as he lines it foul. So he has seen fastball, changeup, curveball on the first 3 pitches.
A completely different sequence than you would have seen from Ben Sheets in his prime.
On the appeal, no swing.
Back between 2004 and 2008, he had the 5th best ERA of any of the qualifying pitchers, and he also had the 5th best strikeout per 9 inning of any of the qualifying pitchers, but it was mostly done with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball.
Another curveball.
And the curveball was an outstanding pitch for him, and it is an outstanding pitch for him right now. It is definitely his out pitch. As you can see from 2004 to 2008, he was one of the most dominant and feared pitchers in the game.
And a ground ball out to second for out number 1. Well, Ben Sheets always had the look of a guy who was going to be a star. He was a first-round pick by Milwaukee back in 1999. In 2000, he pitched the United States to a gold medal in the Olympics, defeating Cuba with a shutout. Struck out 18 Atlanta Braves in 2004, and as recently as 2008. He was the starter in the All-Star game for the National League, but then the elbow trouble came. He lost a couple of years, got back to the big leagues just a few weeks ago after a couple of starts at AA. 4-1 in 5 starts coming into this game tonight. And a strike to the catcher, Rob Johnson. The Braves, like just about every team, have had their fair share of injuries on their pitching staff. Brandon Beachy out for the year after elbow surgery. And safe at first is Johnson. That'll be an infield hit for the Mets catcher. So a 1-out single for Johnson. Ben Sheets making that comeback tells us about when he started to take it seriously.
Remember that first night I went outside and I threw a bullpen and I kind of overdid it, you know, on purpose. I want to make sure, you know, pretty much gave 100% for a lot of pitches. And I remember waking up next day and no stiffness, no soreness, no nothing. And I thought, all right, you know, now we can get on a program and we can, you know, kind of set our sights on, you know, doing something later in the summer.
And he's doing his little something later in the summer. You know, I mean, it's one thing to throw BP to the 10-year-old at his team, and now here he is throwing pitches to major league hitters. And again, with Beachy out, Hansen on the DL, although he's coming back this week, they hope. Jurgen's on the DL. They had a need, and Tito, who knows if it lasts another game or another month or longer than that. But for Freddie Gonzalez and the Braves, what Sheets has already given them has been huge.
Already he's given them 4 wins. If that's it was a good sign. I think Atlanta has very quietly made some great acquisitions. Paul Maholm, Reed Johnson. They did a terrific job without spending any money.
But Paul Maholm was so good Friday night with a 3-hit shutout here in the opening game of this series. Neese with the sacrifice for the Mets, by the way, to move Johnson to second with 2 down. There's Ruben Tejada back to the top of the lineup for the Mets. You know, and how things could have been so different. It looked like Ryan Dempster was going to wind up here. That didn't work out. He goes to Texas. Maholm comes here. He continues to pitch well. And Atlanta is at least toying with the idea of a 6-man rotation once Tommy Hansen is activated. Freddie Gonzalez saying, you know, Hudson's battling a bit of a foot thing, and Medlin hasn't been a starter the whole season, and Sheets is coming back from elbow surgery, so they're toying with it all.
And you know what? There are times during the season, just with the regular schedule, that you get that extra rest. So sometimes force feeding it on your pitching staff when you have so many games in a row is a good thing.
The one question, and I posed it to Freddie, and he actually said he understood, was when you go to your sixth pitcher, if a starter comes up short, and that's part of the reason they want to give him extra rest, then you're really putting a strain on your bullpen. And that would be a worrisome thing for me, going one pitcher short in the pen.
The other option is to stay with 5 and move 1 to the bullpen. Probably Chris Medlin, as well as he has pitched as a starter in his 4 starts. He's got more experience as a reliever, and they can use him in any role, really. He's been very valuable to them this year.
The back end of their bullpen is so solid that using him to bridge the gap at times would be a very nice piece.
Tommy Hanson, by the way, Buster, only telling us 5 scoreless innings in a rehab start at AAA earlier today. Pitches low and a full count.
Terry, you mentioned the moves about the Atlanta Braves. Frank Wren, their general manager, has done an outstanding job staying within the tight budget that he's had to find, a Ben Sheets for $1 million, and maybe he can make $1.4 million or so with incentives. Reed Johnson comes over, not a big salary guy. So Freddie Gonzalez has been the beneficiary of some roster changes that really help, but not cost them a lot of money.
They acquired, as Freddie said, baseball players. And Reed Johnson is a gym rat. He's at the ballpark all day. He knows how to play. Guys like Eric Hinsky sitting on the bench over there. They have a ball club that understands what they're supposed to do when they show up.
I'm always a big fan of blue-collar baseball players that know how to play the game, come every day and play every pitch, every inning.
Base hit into left field. Johnson getting the wave. Prado's throw to the plate, not in time. The run will score. And Tejada into second on the play. The Mets lead 3-1.
And this is again here. The Mets want to be aggressive. Martin Prado makes a nice strong throw. Brian McCann's trying to put a little decoy on the runner, and the ball skips by him. And then what you practice every day in spring training, getting your pitcher to back it up. Ben Sheets is standing there watching it, and it skips right by him. That's why managers lose their hair.
Single and an RBI to second on the throw. 3-1 Mets. Mike Baxter is swinging a miss. One thing that the Mets have done about as well as any team in baseball this year is score runs with 2 outs. When they were really at their best before the All-Star break, game after game, they were coming up with that clutch 2-out hit. That's the 227th run that the Mets have scored this year with 2 outs. That leads the majors, and those are the kinds of runs that can be deflating for the other team. You think you're out of the inning, you're 1 pitch away.
That was one of the examples that Terry Collins continued to give his team, that they'd have to grind out every at bat, squeak out everything out of every ounce, because they knew they weren't going to out talent people. But when they were doing so well and they were actually in the race, they were doing all those little things, the productive outs, the extra bases on the base pass, the 2-out base hits. Those kind of went south, and so has their record.
2 balls, 2 strikes, the count on Baxter. The Mets were 46-39 on July the 7th. They were a half game ahead of Atlanta on July the 7th. But since then, the Mets are 8-21, and the Braves are 21-8. It's funny, you looked at some teams, the Mets were 1, and go back 6 weeks again, and people are saying, is Pittsburgh for real? Is Baltimore for real? Is Oakland for real? Those teams are still clicking away. They've still got a playoff shot, and the Mets just ran into a wall right about the All-Star break.
But the teams you just mentioned, the one common thread is pitching.
The young pitching staff in Baltimore has done outstanding. The Pittsburgh pitching staff has done amazing. The Oakland pitching staff has done great things. R.A. Dickey, and right there, has got a chance to win a Cy Young here in New York with his 15th win. The knuckleballer sitting next to Chris Young, who has come back from shoulder surgery. He's had kind of a tough patch lately. Johan Santana, since the no-hitter, has been tough.
But it was an uphill battle with their bullpen right from the very beginning.
Oh, for sure. The bullpen has not been a successful unit.
And looking ahead to 2013, there are some building blocks, but there also are some gaps on this team. You wonder, will Santana, and he had a real great stretch, including the no-hitter earlier this year, will he ever be anything close to what he was? Will they get any offense from the outfield? They haven't gotten much this year. Will the bullpen be better next year? Swing and a miss by Baxter. And the inning is over. A run for the Mets to lead 3-1 at the end of 2. Michael Bourn in the top of the order coming up for the Braves, and a Baseball Tonight update on the way as well. All right, fellas, thank you. Boy, that has been one of the dominant topics of conversation around baseball all season long. Steven Strasburg, who, by the way, is putting up numbers worthy of being in the Cy Young conversation at this point. R.A. Dickey, you talked about. Johnny Cueto also having a great years, but when will the Nationals shut him down, and will they be able to hold off the Atlanta Braves, even if they are without Strasburg for the final 2-3 weeks of the season? Some big time numbers. He pitched well against Arizona in his last start on Friday. Looks like they'll be able to get him into September. At the plate right now for Atlanta, Michael Bourn, a free agent at the end of the year. A guy the Atlanta Braves are desperately hoping to retain. He's had a big year for them. Murphy spins and fires and gets some good play. Murphy with a nice play to retire Bourn. Speaking of the Nationals, Buster Olney, might they be in Michael Bourne's future?
And he's going to be in an enviable position this fall as a free agent, because not only would the Nationals perhaps be a match, I had a general manager say to me that's probably the most inevitable move of the offseason, because the Nationals need a center fielder. They need a leadoff hitter. The Phillies also have interest, and they just cleared payroll That's the organization, of course, where Michael Bourne started his career. He was drafted by them. He told me that when he was in Philadelphia recently, he heard fans yelling at him all the time about coming back. And the Braves have cleared payroll, and they are now in a position, perhaps, to make a stronger offer to Michael Bourne going into next season. And the numbers could wind up being somewhere in the range of $80 to $100 million. As another GM said to me over the last couple of days, there's going to be a lot of money available this fall.
Martin Prado with a roller to third, charged by David Wright, 2 down. Well, it's one thing to perhaps lose one of your best players to free agency, Tito. It's another thing to lose him to a division rival, and it sounds like a couple of NL East teams are going to be in there on Bourne.
Yeah, and the other thing Freddie Gonzalez mentioned was not only is he good and he impacts the game, but he plays every day. And they pencil him in. They actually put it in pen. He's only taken 2 days off all year. That's a nice thing to have sit at the top of your batting order.
And you can see the job he's done as the leadoff hitter for the Braves, at or near the top in a number of offensive categories.
But he saves a lot of runs on defense with his range. He's an excellent center fielder.
2 down in the inning, and the batter was Jason Hayward, who struck out his first time up.
And back to Bourne, he's about as delightful to say hello to. I mean, this kid's got it all.
Three and 0 the count on Hayward. Infielders play him to pull, outfielders straight away. See if Freddie Gonzalez turns him loose. A strike, 3-1. Inside, and a 2-out walk. Second given up tonight by Nice. They've been getting on him for, well, he's been in the majors 19 years. They've been getting on him at least since 1999, so at least 13 years. He's always been pretty playful about it.
It's a compliment when opposing fans recognize you coming to the plate.
Remember what Reggie Jackson said? They don't boo nobodies. And in this town, Chipper Jones is definitely a somebody. In his last season, 40 years of age, first pitch swinging, fly ball right center, inning over. 3-1 the Mets going to the bottom of the third. We'll see another pretty good third baseman. David Wright will lead it off for the Mets when we come back. Bottom of the third, it's Citi Field. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. The Mets lead the Braves 3-1 as David Wright swings at the first pitch he sees from Ben Sheets, and it's a fly ball to center field. A lot of space out there, and the catch made by Bourne, 1 down.
Ben Sheets tonight has been making some pretty good pitches down in the strike zone. In his outings prior to this, he's been missing up, but these fastballs and curveballs, David Wright hits a pretty good pitch. Another curveball hit right there. Fastball down, finds a hole, and then Tejada finds a hole. These 5 hits, decent, solid pitches, just not good fortune for Ben. Really got away with more mistakes in his earlier 5 outings.
Here's Ike Davis, had an RBI single his first time up. And takes a high changeup in for a strike. 0-1. Ike Davis said, as he takes a curveball for his strike, said a few days ago that he understands the need to put together a full season, and he does not expect his numbers next year at this time to be anything like his numbers this year. At this time was hitting down in the 150s for the first couple of months. And boy, if he could be, I mean, he doesn't have to hit 300 with 40 homers, but if he could be a 270 30 home run guy, the Mets are desperately seeking another big bat and some protection for David Wright.
And I think they fully expect Lucas Duda to come back and be an offensive presence for him. Terry Collins even said even though Duda was struggling before he was sent down, he was still that presence in the lineup, and they're missing that right now.
And with David Wright's bat and Duda and Ike Davis and Jason Bay was supposed to be a piece. The beginning of the year coming in, they thought they were going to be pretty solid offensively.
Sheets gets him looking, 2 down. Coverage of Major League Baseball continues tomorrow and Wednesday. Tomorrow night on ESPN2. Across town in the Bronx, the Yankees will host the Texas Rangers, a battle of division leaders. Monday Night Baseball presented by USAA. The same matchup on Wednesday night, 7 Eastern that time on ESPN. It'll be the final game of the series between the Rangers and Yankees. 2 teams who obviously look in pretty good shape to head to the postseason, although the Yankees dealing with another injury concern. CC Sabathia on the DL with some tenderness in his elbow. He and the Yankees are saying it is not a major issue. Murphy lines a ball to left field and right at Prado, and just like that, the Mets are gone quickly here in the bottom of the third. Freddie Freeman has been a very dangerous hitter so far in this series as the Braves trail 3-1 tonight going to the top of the fourth. Freeman with a home run in this game, accounting for the Braves' only run, and a double, a homer, and 5 RBIs in last night's win over the Mets. He'll lead it off in the fourth against Jonathan Neese. Now Chipper Jones is retiring. He's got to hand off the baton, if you will, to somebody as a Mets killer. Maybe Freddie Freeman is the guy. Maybe he's going to have a kid named City one day.
That's cute, but it's a reach.
Maybe not. 2-1.
But to your point, this is a young kid that's starting to put it together. I mean that swing he took in his last at bat, not only the home run swing, but even on the foul balls. He's not budging on these pitches out of the zone right now.
And that's a left-on-left confrontation, so it's not just like a right-hander that you see easily.
Hit hard, but down to the first baseman Davis, who will make the play unassisted, 1 down.
I mean, let's go back and look at this home run swing. I mean, I can talk about balance, head on the ball, weight shift, hitting against the front side. You don't have to. This is just look how pretty that is. That's as good as you freeze that right there and take that strength, and that's as pretty as any swing in the league right now.
He's been hitting cleanup a fair bit for the Braves with a righty on the mound for the opposition. He'll hit fourth, and Chipper Jones will hit fifth sometimes. Lefty tonight, so Chipper's into between Hayward and Freeman. Dan Uggla takes a strike. Ugla's interesting. He can be as hot as anybody in baseball, and he can be as cold as anybody in baseball. Remember last year how tough a first half he had, then he had the big hitting streak, hit a ton of homers in the second half. This year got off to a great start, then hit about $135 over a 2-month period. Swing and a miss, and he's gone on 3 pitches, 2 down. ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Captain Morgan. Raise your glass, always in moderation. And Reebok Ziglite, the sport of fitness, has arrived. Quickly 2 down here in the top of the fourth, and the batter is Brian McCann, the Atlanta catcher. Drives the ball, center field, deep, and a leaping catch by Andres Torres to end the inning. Nice play by Torres in deep center, who looked like he almost jumped just a little too soon for that ball, but had just enough reach to make the play and get his pitcher off the mound. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. To the bottom of the fourth at Citi Field, the Mets lead the Braves 3-1. Between innings, our Buster Olney with Atlanta manager Freddie Gonzalez.
Freddie Freeman locked in since the All-Star break, hitting .337, a monster home run tonight. What has gotten into him?
Well, this is what we expect from him. You know, he had a great rookie year last year, and now you start seeing the power develop as a second-year player, and as he matures, he's only 22 years old. We're gonna see a lot of power numbers from before his career is over with.
How deep can Ben Sheets go into tonight's game?
Well, he can go as deep as he can. You know, right now we're swinging the bats pretty good, hitting the ball hard at people, and he just needs to hang around, keep us in the game, and for us to get into our bullpen and see what happens.
Freddie, thanks.
Well, you can see the pitch count is high for Sheets already. 61 pitches here as he works to Jordani Valdespin to begin the fourth inning. Gave up 2 runs in the first, gave up another in the second. Got the Mets in order in the third. Valdespin, the left fielder, struck out in his first at bat. A guy with a lot of flair, a lot of confidence, not yet a lot of time in the big leagues, and it seems like on occasion maybe the Mets veterans have tried to teach him that, hey kid, not quite there just yet, as Sheets strikes him out. And guys, there is that kind of that pecking order. I mean, you can't just walk in there as a rookie and own the place right away, right?
You shouldn't. You should be a little more humble maybe, but you know what? Sometimes actions are not always the attitude, you know, and if you have a little cocky action, sometimes that's your bulletproof shield that you kind of use to keep the anxiety in of playing at the big league level at the beginning.
Sheets going to that changeup more and more. Starts Andres Torres with a pitch in for a strike.
Especially to lefties, Dan. We haven't seen him throw it to a righty.
Now a fastball at 89 up above the belt that he gets by Torres, and it's 0-2.
Well, just because your velocity is not 97 anymore doesn't mean you can't pitch up in the strike zone. There are times and places for it. We started him off with the changeup, which kind of slows him down, and then you can beat people with the fastball up around 91, 92 in the upside, and even 89. Chris Young, Mets, does that a lot. He doesn't break 87 a lot of times.
Well, Freddie Gonzalez says Sheets has all the intangibles, doesn't quite have the stuff he had years ago, but he throws strikes, he reads the batter and their actions in the batter's box. He's got the great curveball, he doesn't nibble. Missed away, a full count.
Yeah, he really understands as a veteran the two basic components of strategy for pitching. Strike one, and then finishing off hitters with his out pitch and really not making mistakes with it.
NFL action returns tomorrow night here on ESPN. Tony Romo and the Cowboys travel to Oakland to take on Carson Palmer and the Raiders. The Cowboys and Raiders, 8 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow night on ESPN. Coverage begins with a Monday night countdown at 7 Eastern. Score in the game here at Citi Field. The Mets leading 3-1 in the bottom of the fourth. The Mets 54-60. First time all season. They are 6 games under the 500 mark. The Braves are 19 over, 66-47, 4 back of the Washington Nationals for top spot of the NL East. The Braves and Nationals still have 6 games with one another between now and the end of the season. Rob Johnson, the batter. And one other scheduling note for the Atlanta Braves, as we talked about with Freddie Gonzalez before the game, they finished the season with 3 games at Pittsburgh. Those games could be enormous. Those two teams currently 1-2 right now in the wild card race in the National League. And he was talking about how odd it is. They saw the Pirates in the first week of the season, and they finished the season with them. Didn't see them in between. You see the Dodgers and Cardinals still hanging around in the wild card race as well. Pirates got a big win today. They had lost the first 2 games of the series at home to San Diego. They were down 5-0 to the Padres today, and then they erupted for 9 runs in the fourth. Clint Barmas hit a grand slam the first of his career. Eric Bedard got the win in Pittsburgh, beat San Diego 11-5. Ball and 2 strikes to count on Johnson. Torres, pretty good speed. Not going. And a slow roller to short. There's one. And not in time. Not hit hard enough. A fielder's choice for Johnson. Well, we're here at Citi Field, right next door to where the old Shea Stadium used to be. Shea Bridge, now a walkway for fans to get into this new ballpark. You were a Met Oral for a year?
Yep. Enjoyed my time here in New York. Lived right in the city at 73rd and 1st. And the fans didn't welcome me with open arms, but they were motivated me with some hometown pushing.
Bouncer to third. Inning over. 4 complete here at Citi Field. The Mets lead 3-1. Five. Mets lead the Braves 3-1. Between innings, Buster Olney with the Mets manager Terry Collins.
Terry, Ben Sheets made his return to the big leagues against you guys. What adjustments could you guys make off that first start and carry over into this game?
Well, Buster pitched a great game the first time, and what he did is he came right at us and attacked the strike zone, got ahead of us right away. As a matter of fact, we were 0-2 on a lot of guys. So tonight the plan was, hey, look, be ready early in the count.
Now, Jonathan Neese, the pitcher, you guys have a lot of faith in, can get better. In a game like this, specifically in game, what can he get better at?
Well, one of the things he does at times, Buster, is he'll forget about his changeup and his curveball because he gets his cutter and his sinker working. But those are two very good pitches for him. And if he maintains those pitches against the Braves with all their left-handed hitters, he can be effective.
Terry, thanks.
As a young pitcher's development, John Neese on the mound has had a problem walking people. So when he gets into certain innings, he defaults to his fastball. And that's what Terry Collins is talking about. And that's from the fear of walking people with your secondary stuff. And in this last 12 starts or so, the walks have come down and the pitch variation has increased, which has been very good for him.
Sheets with a lazy fly ball to right field, and quickly 2 down here in the top of the 5th, and 6 in a row now set down by Nice. Back to the top of the order for Michael Bourne.
And Nice on the mound as he develops, a 26-year-old that needs to be an integral part for the Mets to be successful in this rotation, and they signed him to a 5-year deal. They believe in this young arm. As he develops, he really needs to pound the strike zone, but really respond to adversity when the innings start to build against him and get out of him without causing damage.
And this is an opportunity for him now to have a quick inning. You get 8-9 and do exactly what you're supposed to do. Now you got to get Bourne.
Bourne doubled in the first inning, grounded out in the third. That fastball right in on his hands, and Bourne fouls it back to stay alive. Bourne staying in the box, and he's working with a good pace tonight as well, ready to get right back at him. Just outside.
It's real interesting. He's had a 1-2 count here and thrown the last 2 pitches to get the 2-2, and he's been shaking off the breaking ball, like Terry Collins said, that maybe trying to avoid the breaking ball.
There's the curveball. Swing and a miss by Bourne. 3 up, 3 down inning for Jonathan Nice. Top of the order coming up for the Mets. David Wright due up third when we come back. Welcome back to New York. 3-1. The Mets lead the Braves as we go to the bottom of the 5th here on Sunday Night Baseball. With Oral Hershiser, Terry Francona, Buster Olney, I'm Dan Schulman. Leadoff hitter Ruben Tejada looks at a strike from Ben Sheets. Sheets gave up 2 in the first, 1 in the second. And has been much more effective in the third and the fourth. Tejada 1 for 2, had an RBI single in the second inning. And a guy that the Mets have been really happy with. Of course, they lost Jose Reyes to free agency after last season, and Tito difficult to replace a guy like Reyes. Tejada certainly not that electrifying of a talent. but he makes contact. He's hitting over 300, makes the plays at short. The Mets seem really happy with him.
There's a lot to like about him. Again, it's his first full year of playing every day, and he's more than held his own. I don't think anybody expected him to fill the shoes that were left by the last shortstop. It wasn't going to happen. Wasn't going to have the stolen bases. Wasn't going to have the flair. But he's played a good shortstop, and he's hit over 300.
One hopper to short, and Tejada retired, one down. MLB.TV, baseball everywhere. Watch almost 100 out-of-market games live per week on your favorite devices. Visit MLB.TV for details. Some big series coming up this week. All kinds of contending teams playing each other. A young David Wright fan getting ready to watch his favorite player, who's in the on-deck circle right now. First, Mike Baxter takes a high changeup in for a strike. Baxter singled and struck out. Tell you a team to keep an eye on right now. The Tampa Bay Rays are hot. They have won 6 in a row. And they've got a series starting Thursday, a 4-game series in Anaheim. I'm talking about two teams who are in the hunt for the wild card spots right now in the American League.
Their starting pitching has really climbed them back in the race, and now they got Evan Longoria back from injury. They're hoping he really solidifies the offense during the stretch.
Look at that race. 5 teams separated by 2 games. 2.5 really from the Rays down to the Angels, but the Angels 2 back at the second wild card spot as Baxter pops it up. Oh, look at that, Tito.
It's a good seat.
And nobody's going to move him out of it. He's got some popcorn.
That is not his seat.
Does she know?
She might.
Yeah, she's out of there. That's it.
She knew it wasn't his seat.
Look at her. I know one thing about her. She's already proven herself to be braver than me and Tito. 2 down for Wright. An RBI double in the first, a fly ball to center in the third.
I heard about a story when you used to work with Buck Martinez. He caught a bug in the booth, and he started waving it at you like he was going to throw it at you, and you pushed the cough button.
It wasn't a bug.
You pushed the cough button and said, if you throw that bug at me, I will punch you in the face.
Yeah, that's fairly accurate, yeah. Wright hooks the ball into the left field corner. His second double of the night.
Well, Ben Sheet throws an outstanding curveball, but David Wright has always been very good at hitting the breaking ball. He has a tendency to be able to keep his hands back, and even though he's slightly fooled on that, you see the hands are still and back and cocked. Even though it's an off-speed pitch, his weight was still in balance, and that's why he's the great hitter that he is, and a commodity that the Mets are anxious when the offseason comes to keep.
$16 million option that the Mets have for Wright's services for next year. He would be eligible for free agency the year after that, and they could re-sign him to a long-term deal. They could trade him in the offseason, maybe feeling that his value will never be higher than it is right now, or they could kind of let it play out into next season and see how he does and see how they do before making a decision whether to re-sign him or trade him. And it is a hot topic amongst Mets fans. Davis with a line drive base hit into center field. Right around third, will score without a throw. The Mets lead 4-1.
And this is what the Mets desperately need out of Ike Davis. This ball isn't crushed, but it's a 2-out RBI where he puts the bat on the ball instead of the strikeout. He's been all or nothing. He's had some games where he's hit 3 home runs, another game where he hit 2. Here he takes a nice little single and gets a 2-out RBI.
His second RBI of the game. The batter now Daniel Murphy. Oral, that pitch notwithstanding, that was down. Almost everything's been up from Ben Sheet tonight. He doesn't have the stuff anymore to live up. Is this by design, or is he just not getting the ball down?
Well, earlier in the game he was down there where that pitch was, but there have been a few pitches he's left up, and I think really by design that pitch was thrown up to Ike Davis there because he had been throwing a lot of change-ups to left-handed hitters, and he thought maybe I can sneak one by him. And you just got to tip your hat to Ike Davis that he got enough on it to find some outfield grass.
Runner goes, and a swing and a grounder to second to end the inning. But another run for the Mets, another run with 2 outs for the New York Mets. And at the end of 5 at Citi Field, they've expanded their lead to 4-1. All right, Steve, Kurt, thank you very much. A good topic of conversation for us this half inning because a couple of relievers in the National League are having extraordinary seasons. Craig Kimbrell of Atlanta, Aroldis Chapman of Cincinnati. And over in the American League, by the way, Fernando Rodney of the Rays having a terrific season as well. There are some worthy Cy Young candidates among starters, including the Mets' R.A. Dickey. When you look at the numbers that Kimbrell and Chapman have, are they worthy of Cy Young consideration? The last reliever to win the Cy Young, Eric Gagne of the Dodgers in 03. Before that, Dennis Eckersley of the A's in 92. Incredible numbers for both of these guys. Look at the strikeouts per 9 innings.
Doesn't it seem like if, regardless of how good a reliever does,
the starter has to do something that is not Cy Youngish before you default to looking at the relievers. Unless you have those video game numbers like those two.
All right, well, let's start with the starting pitcher. Should a guy who throws 60 to 70 innings a year be considered for the Cy Young Award, in your opinion?
I think it's very hard, but 60 to 70, 80, yeah. I don't know. I think I'm going to get a lot of bad emails from current relievers and ex-relievers, but
this is why I started with you.
I think there's a lot of starting pitchers on every club that would be very good closers. I think there's 2 to 3 starting pitchers that could close on every club in the major leagues.
Okay. This year, let's say there's nobody having a Hershiser type of year in the National League. Now, R.A. Dickey's having a great year. Johnny Cueto's having a very good year. Strasburg and some others. This year, specifically, Tito, do you think Kimbrel and Chapman deserve being mentioned for the Cy Young Award?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Well, mention's a lot different than winning. Come on, you can't back off on the question.
Absolutely be mentioned.
Yeah. Wow, way to set him up. Put me on that. Do you think relievers should be there?
Here.
And now you've got to mention the Tito.
But you know what? The way Curt Schilling said it back in the studio, he said, "Hey, ask Tito. You know, when a manager has a guy who allows you to sleep soundly 42 out of 44 times, you throw him out there. That's worth something."
But on the other hand, when you have the guy that, and it's listen to Schill, have a guy that can make 35 starts and punch out 300, I'll take that guy too.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think you're right, Earl. For a reliever to win it, he's got to have an extraordinary season, and there can be no starter who has a great season in the league. But this year, I mean, what R.A. Dickey's doing is pretty special. What Johnny Cueto's doing is awfully good, and there are some other candidates as well.
No, I think that a fantastic closer, the starter can't win 20. That starter that wins 20 better not be part of a winning ball club. If the starter leads the league in top 3 in ERA and is up there in strikeouts and wins 19, it's going to be hard for the reliever to sneak in there.
Hayward with a fly ball to left field, 2 down to Buster Olney for his thoughts.
You guys are right that historically the writers have to see something above and beyond for a reliever to win, like a Dennis Eckersley the year that he won it. But I would say that these two guys are certainly doing that. Think about these numbers since May 15th for Craig Kimbrel. 29 innings, 1 walk, 52 strikeouts, and Aroldis Chapman would lead 4 individual teams in strikeouts. And guys, he's a short reliever.
That's incredible. Chipper Jones with a roller to the left side. Good range. Even better throw by David Wright. As one third baseman retires another. The Braves are gone, and we're going to the bottom of the 6th with the Mets still leading. Aerial coverage brought to you tonight by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. Bottom 6 at Citi Field. Mets 4, Braves 1. Dan Shulman, Terry Francona, Oral Hershiser, Buster Olney. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell here on ESPN. Ben Sheets on the mound for Atlanta. There is activity now in the Braves pen for the first time tonight. Right-hander Corey Guerin is up. The Atlanta pen has been great over the last month or so. Better rested than last year. And they are really doing a job. By the way, we'll see the Braves again 2 weeks from tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. We'll head out west to San Francisco and see the Braves and the Giants 2 weeks from tonight. Look at these numbers since the 27th of July. Collectively, the Braves bullpen has an ERA under 1. You will sleep at night, won't you, Tito, with those kinds of numbers?
Yeah, but I'll hold that thought for a minute while this ball sails out of here.
A line drive home run for Jordany Valdespin. 5-1 Mets. And Ben Sheets has given up as many runs in this game as he gave up in his first 5 starts combined. Number 8 on the season for Valdespin, who struck out in his first 2 at-bats.
Valdespin picked on a high changeup from Ben Sheets. A little different facial expression after home runs than strikeouts.
Especially for young players. But what I was starting to say a minute ago about the bullpen with Atlanta, I think Freddie Gonzalez deserves a lot of credit. I think he learned a lesson last year. I think he went to those guys a lot, and I think he probably gave himself a review at the end of the year, and he's very open about it. And it's kind of endearing listening to him talk like that, because those guys aren't anywhere near the top of the list this year in appearances.
And I think some is learning himself not to overuse them, and then the offense has really given him some room, some breathing room, not to go to the bullpen so quickly.
They had a ridiculous number of close games last year, had to use those 3 key guys over and over. Weekly hit ball to first, met near the bag by Freeman, and Torres is retired. The 3 key guys, you see Guerin and Avilan are up, but the 3 key guys in the Atlanta pen, a couple of left-handers, Eric O'Flaherty and Johnny Venters, plus the closer Craig Kimbrell. Last year, all 3 of them were in the top 5 of the majors in appearances through 113 games. This year, through the same number of games, a big difference. Now, Venters spent a little time on the DL with a tender elbow. O'Flaherty's been used less often. Kimbrell has been used less often. And right now, all 3 of them throwing well. And boy, if Medlin winds up back in the pen, which he figures to at some point soon, or if not now, if they make the playoffs, certainly in the playoffs, I mean, you're talking about 4 big-time arms that Freddie Gonzalez can go to really from the 6th inning on.
That won't be on fumes.
Ben Sheets over 100 pitches now. And how many times have you seen in October where the starter just grinds it out, but he can only get through 5, maybe 6, and every out is so tough to come by? And sometimes it's those bridge guys, those Medlin types, who come in and have to get the toughest outs of the night. Swing and a miss by Rob Johnson, 2 down. Number 5 on the night for Sheets. Coverage of Major League Baseball continues tomorrow and Wednesday. Tomorrow night is Monday Night Baseball at 7 Eastern over on ESPN2. The Texas Rangers and the New York Yankees. The same matchup comes your way Wednesday night here on ESPN. That's the 3rd game of a 4-game series. It wraps up Thursday afternoon. Division leaders collide this week in the Bronx. Jonathan Neese, a sacrifice and a fielder's choice. Two first-place teams, 2 high-scoring teams. Hey, Josh Hamilton homered again today. Maybe he is getting ready to break out again. He's been swinging the bat better of late. Neese grounds out and the inning is over. The Valdespin home run adds to the Met lead. Freddie Freeman continues to swing a potent bat for the Atlanta Braves. A home run tonight. A solo shot back in the second inning on Jonathan Nice. The only run that Atlanta has tonight. Freeman doubled, homered, drove in 5 in the Atlanta win last night. Only more than Freeman to get back into this game. The Mets lead 5-1 as we go to the top of the 7th. Remember the importance of this game for Atlanta. Washington lost earlier today, snapping their 8-game winning streak, so the Braves are 4 back of the Nationals. And the Braves trying to do everything they can to catch the Nats. Of course, you want to make the playoffs any way you can, but if you can avoid being a wild card, avoid a 1-game playoff, you got to win your division to do that. And the Braves are still clearly trying to chase down the Nationals. Ground ball to first. Freeman retired. You talk to managers and the prospect of playing in a 1-game playoff when you might need your best guy, Tito, to win on the final day just to get you to that 1-game playoff. So maybe your number 2 is starting in the 1-game playoff, and if you win that, now your number 3 is starting the first game of the division series. You want to talk about not sleeping at night. And Freddie Gonzalez is not shy about saying, hey, they're looking forward more than looking back right now. Neither is anybody else in their clubhouse, players included. I mean, they understand you get into a 1-game playoff, sometimes luck, bad hop, or, gets in the way. You hear teams say anything can happen when you get to the playoffs, but it can happen for the bad also. Foul it off, and a ball and 2 strikes to count on Dan Ugla. Roger McDowell, the pitching coach, talking to tonight's starter Ben Sheets, as left-hander Johnny Venters is up in the pen. Usually a guy who pitches when Atlanta's got the lead, but he has not thrown in 4 days. So the left-hander is up, getting ready to work, it looks like.
I love watching Ben Sheets just grind down the outing with Roger McDowell. 6 starts ago, Ben Sheets was thinking about being a Little League coach for the rest of his life. And now he's in the middle of a pennant race and grinding out big league outings again.
Meanwhile, Jonathan Nice, the starter for the Mets, has retired 12 in a row, has not given up a hit since the 2nd inning. A guy who the last couple of years faded near the end of the year, didn't finish the season strong, and for him to take that next step from middle to back end of the rotation to middle to front end of the rotation, the Mets are really looking for him to finish the season well, pitch deep into games, pitch well on regular rest, not just extra rest, which he's had a habit of doing. And Orel, I mean, ever since first 2 innings, he's been great tonight.
He's been exceptional. He's taken his manager Terry Collins' advice as far as not forgetting about his breaking ball tonight. There it is right there, that curveball. But, when he's throwing the breaking ball tonight, it's turned out to be an out pitch for him. Got Michael Bourne a few times with it. He got a double play to Chipper Jones with it. And the fastball at times has been in a poor location. You usually throw a lot more of them, so you got a chance to have poor location. But the breaking ball, it's been a very nice pitch to keep him in this outing.
Liner into center field, a base hit for McCann. Hit it over to Tejada, the shortstop, who was playing way out in shallow center.
Well, Brian McCann right on cue, picking out a high fastball, bad location after the breaking ball prior to that. But Jonathan Nice has had a nice little outing here tonight, only giving up the 1 run, the Freddie Freeman home run. But you see this fastball, he just makes a mistake up and over the middle of the plate, and a good professional hitter, and Brian McCann makes him pay for it.
A strong effort tonight for Nice. 2 down in the 7th, and now a baseball onto the field out in right center field. Baxter retrieves it and tosses it out of play. The inside corner, a called strike. 1-1 on Paul Janisch, the Atlanta shortstop.
And if Janisch can find a way to get on, this is where the Braves can get back in this game in a hurry. Guy like Reed Johnson sitting there on deck, has been doing this for a long time and doing it well.
He's a pretty potent bat against left-handed pitching.
Acquired along with Paul Maholm in the deal with the Cubs. Can play all 3 outfield spots. And if you like whatever term you want to use, a grinder or a dirt dog or old school or whatever, he's all those things. Huh?
Well, in a situation where they're down by 4 and if Reed Johnson gets a shot this inning, he's going to be looking for one pitch and one pitch only to drive, to hit a double or even possibly a home run. It might be that cutter inside that Nish likes to throw, or it might be that slow breaking ball or a mistake fastball, but he's going to pick one out early in the count and look to drive it.
Curveball lined foul. And that'll get Johnson, the catcher, out to the mound to talk with Nice.
You know, going back to Brian McCann's line drive to center field, I don't know if I've ever seen a shortstop playing that deep on the shift.
It's one thing to hit a ground ball that the shift takes a base hit away from you, but that ball was smoked to center field, a line drive, and Tejada almost had a play on it. Did he go? Nope.
Here's one of those pitches when Terry Collins would hope that Nice doesn't default to a fastball. Don't worry about the walk and getting a 3-2. Throw a quality pitch.
Fly ball to deep left field, but playable. Nice saying, ooh, I might have gotten away with one right there. 7th inning stretch. Mets still lead. Venters on his way in. Welcome back to Citi Field here in Flushing, New York. As we go to the bottom of the seventh, time now to take a look at our game track. Brought to you by Ram. The Mets leading 5-1. Terrific outing so far by Jonathan Neese. David Wright has had a big night. Danny Valdespin has also homered for the Mets. Ben Sheets really touched up for the first time in 6 starts this year with the Braves, and the only Atlanta run of the night coming on the home run by Freddie Freeman. Little repairs, a little maintenance during the 7th inning stretch, and we're ready to go here in the bottom half of the 7th with left-hander Johnny Venters into the game for Atlanta to face the top of the Met lineup. Venters made 85 appearances last year. You can see with 46 this year, on pace for far fewer. Did spend, as we mentioned, a couple of weeks on the DL with a tender elbow, but back from that, feeling good. The stuff looks better. And when this guy is on, he is as nasty as it gets from the left side. Non-Chapman category, I guess.
Sometimes I don't think it's when he's on. I just think when he's rested, the ball just, the bottom drops out of it with his two-seam fastball. And last year, with all those outings, when he started to get hit around, the ball just didn't have the finish and the sink that it had when it was unhittable in the first 3 quarters of the season.
Has not worked since Wednesday, so getting some work here tonight, even with the Braves trailing. Ruben Tejada, the leadoff hitter for the Mets, is up 1 for 3. Had an RBI single back in the 2nd. And he's gone, 1 down. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by the all-new Dodge Dart. Dodge. New rules. Citi Field, the home of the Mets. Bottom 7, 5-1. The home team leading as Mike Baxter takes ball 1. Tito, does it get any better than Mr. Met?
Well, he's been my favorite for a long time.
You know what? He's an upbeat guy. They've been through some tough times, but now to see the Philly fanatic, and you know from managing in Philadelphia and against Philadelphia, I mean, he's going to mess with you if you're from the other team. Does Mr. Met mess with you at all?
No. Mr. Met likes everybody.
He likes everybody?
Yeah.
No. Well, that's nice.
I'm going to let you two have that conversation.
This can't be a real comfortable at bat for Mike Baxter. He's got 9 plate appearances against left-handers this year, and he's facing a guy throwing 95 that hides the ball and has tremendous movement.
And a walk to Baxter. Now, speaking of left-handers who have had a lot of success, although in Johan Santana's case, not last night, an inning and a third, 8 runs allowed. What a season it's been for Santana, through the Mets' first ever no-hitter a couple of months ago. And since that time, in 9 starts, has an ERA of almost 8. Now, that's not to say necessarily that throwing 134 pitches and extending himself the way he did in the no-hitter is the reason he has not pitched well since then. But it obviously is a topic of conversation. And there are various media entities here in New York who are saying, shut him down, let him rest for next season. Terry Collins does not agree. As David Wright sends a ball down the right field line, just foul. You know, on top of everything else, they're paying him $25 million next year. And I don't think anybody really has a handle on which Johan Santana they're going to get next season.
And you just knew after that no-hitter that was going to be a benchmark or a landmark date that everybody would go back and point to and watch how he threw from then till now. And it's not fair.
Yeah. 134 pitches, a career high, and the numbers since, an ERA of almost 8. Right with a fly ball to right center. 2 down. We were here just after the no-hitter, sat in Terry Collins' office, and you could see he was nervous then. I didn't know it. I mean, he knew what he had to do, but he was afraid to do it. there was really nothing he could do. You had to let him finish.
You know what? And it's easy now to go back 2 months and say, oh, you could have done this or this. I remember at the time watching him go through it and admiring the way he handled it.
Terry Collins.
Yes, he was open and honest about how hard it was to leave him out there and how much he fretted about how it would bother him going forward.
He coming back from a surgery like that, in your rehab, normally the caliber, your bullets change all the time. Sometimes it's too much rest, too much side work. Oh, I had a really good outing, but I threw a lot of pitches, and that's what he ended up with, a really good outing that he threw a lot of pitches, and things change in the whole chemistry and makeup of your rehab. And Terry Collins knew the risk, but he knew he had to let him go for it, too.
And the complication for the Mets is they don't spend $140, $150 million like they used to anymore. Their payroll is down under $100 million this year. So when you've got one guy making 25 of it, you need a lot of production out of him. And between Santana's 25, Jason Abay's 16, that's a lot of money where they're not getting the value they need out of those two players. And that's why they've got so many younger players, low salary guys who they're really depending upon right now.
What a tough job to rebuild in a city where you have to compete every year and trying to sell season tickets and keep your star players in line and hold on to them long enough and sign somebody to a big contract and then they don't produce.
But you have to be strong enough not to be swayed by public sentiment. And that's not easy to do all the time. I used to tell people all the time, if you manage like a fan, you'll become a fan. What happens?
2 balls, 2 strikes, the count on Ike Davis. And again, such a feel-good story for a while earlier in the season, but now reality has kind of set in that although there have been some pleasant surprises for this team this year, they still appear to have a fair ways to go before they can be considered a legitimate contender. That ball will bounce away, and Baxter will take second.
And the fan mentality, they're thinking they're intelligent people and they're right on top of their team and everything, but they think a little bit more with their heart instead of their head.
Yes. But I'll tell you what, I think it's important for the Mets this last 7 weeks to get back to that 500 mark. I know 500 doesn't mean you're going to the playoffs, but I think it's something they need to shoot for to show their fans that they're on the way up.
The building.
Yes, I do think the next 6 weeks are really important.
Well, they're excited to get Lucas Duda back. They want to hope they can get more production out of Ike Davis the rest of the year. Hope Santana returns to form that we showed in that no-hitter. R.A. Dickey finish off the year with some really good pieces, and the bullpen is a big question still.
Grounder to first, and the inning is over. 7 completed Citi Field. The Braves down 4. Hoping Michael Bourne can spark them when he comes up second to the top of the 8th inning. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Mas. And in part by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Top 8 at Citi Field. Ian Schulman, Terry Francona, Oral Hershiser, Buster Olney. The Mets 5, the Braves 1. Pinch hitter for Atlanta to begin the inning. The recently acquired Reed Johnson will bat in Johnny Venter's spot. And look at the strike. The distinctive facial hair, the distinctive look that Johnson has had for a number of years. Obscuring it just a little bit tonight. Got a little growth going as well. And a bit of a beard going right now. But a guy, boy, Freddie Gonzalez was just raving about him. What he can do on the field and how he has fit in as a teammate as well. And as you said, Tito, they got some quality guys coming off that bench. David Ross and Eric Hinsky and Reed Johnson.
Veteran guys that know their place, want to play, but when they're not playing, they add to the ball club.
The body language and the intensity that he even watches a game, people feed off of. It raises the bar for the whole ball club on how important every pitch is to him and to be watching and learning and staying on top of the game.
Curveball lined into left field, a base hit for Johnson to get things started for the Braves here in the 8th inning.
Now, John Neese has had a really nice outing tonight, and really that's a rarity to see him give up a hit on the breaking ball. He has taken his manager Terry Collins' advice and not forgotten about the curveball tonight. The top of the order, which are all these batters, have gone 1 for 10 off of him tonight with a double and 2 walks. And the main reason is he's not neglected his cut fastball and his breaking ball. Chipper Jones hit a double play on that one. Here's another ground out by Chipper, and he's done a very nice job not just defaulting to his fastball.
A little bit low, ball 1 to Michael Bourne. Activity in the Mets pen. The left-hander is Josh Edgin, with just about a month in the major leagues, but he's done an outstanding job against left-handed batters. And the righty is John Roush, who has been pitching very well of late for the Mets. And the kids in the background, you can see that they can see there's a camera on them or a monitor or something that they can see they're on TV in the background there in the bullpen. Swing and a miss at a curveball, 1-2. Bourne doubled, stole third in the first inning, was stranded there, has grounded out and struck out since.
With Hayward and Chipper Jones and Freddie Freeman coming around for the 4th time, you wonder if Terry Collins will elect to go to the bullpen just because of these good hitters. It'll be their 4th look at him.
Back to the mound. Double play. Only the second double play that Michael Bourne has hit into all season.
And this might be the only way he hits into a double play is when he hits it firmly back to the pitcher. A nice low pitch right here, a cut fastball. And Neese does a great job not panicking with this ball. Gets hit back to him. He squares his feet up. He makes a nice little throw hop to second base. Feeds it directly there right over the bag. And an easy feed to first for the double play. Well done on the mound, fielding his position.
478th at bat of the year for Bourne, and the second double play that he has hit into. Neese now over 100 pitches, but being given an opportunity to finish off the 8th inning here. Martin Prado 0 for 2 with a walk. Jammed, and he hits it just foul down the left field line. There was a moment of panic for the ball boy down the line. Did you see that? He went for it, then he stopped, and then he thought it was fair, and he looked at the ump, and did I just mess something up here? That's a fair ball. And Prado into second base with a 2-out double.
Ball boy didn't move an inch on that one, didn't flinch. Had one to practice on. Got them both right.
So runner at second, 2 down. Jason Hayward will be the batter, and it looks like Terry Collins may give him a chance. Now Dan Worthen, the pitching coach, is on his way out to the mound.
Well, so much that you think about when you're developing a young pitcher. 26 years old, they fully committed to him with a 5-year deal. Terry Collins wanting to see him finish not only this game strong, but August and September. And when you are a young pitcher, you're trying to get up the tunnel with a good outing. Your manager's trying to extend you and teach you how to pitch with a little less stuff and build those calluses that'll get you deeper into the game. And it's a fine line that the coaching staff walks between gaining confidence as a pitcher, get him up the tunnel, and building those muscles to go deeper in the game and deeper into a season.
Roush and Edgin ready if needed. Fouled back by Hayward.
Chipper Jones standing on deck makes it tough on a manager because of his ability from either side of the plate to do damage.
Yeah, I just looked up his numbers. He's hitting .314 from one side, .313 from the other side. Atlanta's got so many left-handed batters in their lineup, and Bourne and Hayward and Freeman and McCann, and they're 1-3-5-7 in the lineup. Nice trying to finish the inning right here and keep Chipper in the on-deck circle. And he will. Eight strong innings tonight for the left-hander Jonathan Nice. Just picked up strikeout number 6 as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Bottom of the 8th here in New York. The Mets lead the Braves 5-1, trying to salvage the final game of this series. Matt Kemp, David Price, Robinson Cano among those who have visited the MLB Fan Cave this season. Check out all the player videos and watch exclusive music videos and interviews with your favorite performers and celebrities by visiting MLBFancave.com. Follow at MLB Fan Cave on Twitter and like the MLB Fan Cave on Facebook. Right-hander Christian Martinez into the game for Atlanta. First pitch swinging, Daniel Murphy, right center field, 1 down. Martinez at times working as a long man for Atlanta, can give them multiple innings, making his first appearance in a game since last Monday at Philadelphia. Outstanding strikeout to walk ratio of 6-1 as he makes his 40th appearance of the season. Here's Jordany Valdespin, who homered his last time up, his 8th of the season. Looking ahead to the top of the 9th inning, the Braves will bring up the 4, 5, 6 hitters in their lineup: Chipper Jones, Freddie Freeman, and Dan Uggla. Boy, Valdespin is either bailing or just looking or something. That right foot's been moving way out into the bucket.
You know, one of the things he might be looking to do is slapping it by Chipper, who's got to respect the speed at the plate, and then they're playing him a little bit up the middle. So when he's looking to bail, he might have been looking to slap and run. Not on that pitch. It looked like he was trying to hit another one of the seats.
Yep. 2-2 the count on Valdespin. Jonathan East still there. Is he coming out for the 9th? Left-hander Edgin, Josh Edgin, still throwing in the Mets pen. Just fouled.
There's a lot of handshaking going on when he came off the mound with that strikeout of Hayward, and I think they're just kind of still going over the outing and reassuring what they did well tonight. Maybe a few ruts they fell into, but ended up with a great outing.
2 career complete games for Nice. Little looper, shallow left for a base hit.
He ended up slapping it over there to the left side, just got it in the air and had to touch the short grass in the outfield.
So a 1-out base hit for Valdespin here in the bottom of the 8th, with the Mets trying to add to their 5-1 lead here at Citi Field. And the batter is Andres Torres, 0 for 2 with a walk. Valdespin with 5 steals on the season as he's being held on at first by Freddie Freeman.
And if the Mets can get to the pitcher spot, don't be surprised to see Scott Harrison pop out of that dugout. He's their big home run threat. Christian Martinez with that changeup is tougher on lefties anyway.
Boy, a late signal there that it was a foul ball. Up until the ball reaches first base, it's the home plate umpire's call. Once it's beyond the bag, it's the umpire down the line. In this case, the first base umpire who makes the call. This ball never got to the bag, so it was Larry Vanover's call. And it's a foul ball and an 0-2 count on Torres. Tom Goodwin, the first base coach for the Mets, working the stopwatch there. A terrific base stealer in his day. Runner goes. Got a big jump and steals it pretty easily.
It's a nice little jump at first base. You hit a home run, then you show your wheels, you get a good jump here. Maybe the Braves caught a little off guard. Martinez on the mound, a little slow to the plate, thinking at 5-1 maybe they won't run, but the Mets really continue to try and push hard to the end of the season, showing their enthusiasm and the way they try and gut it out.
Into center field, a base hit for Torres. Valdespin getting the wave. Relay to the plate. Sails over the plate. Would not have been in time anyways. And another run will score. 6-1.
And I don't think Valdespin was expecting to get the wave home from Tim Tuffle. He kind of glided into third, and then Tuffle saw the throw going to shortstop and brought him. And I think it kind of surprised him. And he looks off the bat to make sure it's going to hit the grass. Watch him. He's just kind of cruising. Now he picks it up and puts his head down.
Tuffle didn't give him the signal until he saw the angle of the throw into the infield. It wasn't headed towards home, so he said it's time to go, and that's why he waited so long to send him.
Now Rob Johnson takes a strike.
But as a base runner, when you kind of glide into third, you put you make your third base coach's job harder.
Mm-hmm. When you're waiting for it to sign, keep your speed up.
On deck in Jonathan Neese's spot is Justin Turner. So Neese will finish with an outstanding 8 innings of work tonight, in line for a win. The Mets adding a little insurance here in the bottom of the 8th and are looking for more. Fly ball to left field, just a bit off the end of the bat, so Prado will run it down for out number 2. Jonathan Neese finished strong, got a big double play ball in the top of the 8th inning, and then after the double by Martin Prado, finished off his outing by striking out Jason Hayward. 8 innings, 1 run, only gave up 6 hits tonight. In line for win number 9.
Zare Dickey next to him, Mike Davis in the foreground, and Jonathan Neese with a very nice outing.
Turner pinch hitting. Turner hitting .283 on the season, has had a lot of pinch hitting opportunities this year. 10 for 36 as a pinch hitter with .278 average. Pretty respectable, doing one of the tougher jobs there is to do in baseball. How much pinch hitting did you do in your career?
You see the top of my head? That'll give you your answer right there. Too much. It's a tough job.
It is, huh?
Yeah. You make an out, and then you got to sit on it out for 4 or 5 days sometimes. That's why, and again, some of the good teams have veteran guys doing it.
Yep.
Because they can handle the aggravation and the anxiety that comes with it.
How many years did you see a Lenny Harris or a Matt Stairs?
The really
guys?
good ones.
Yep.
Jason Giambi turned into a good one.
Inning over. The Mets add a run. It will take a 6-1 lead to the top of the 9th. Chipper Jones will lead it off for Atlanta. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. To the top of the ninth at Citi Field, Chipper Jones will lead it off for the Atlanta Braves, who are down by 5, trailing 6-1 with but 3 outs to play with. In the final season of his big league career, Chipper Jones winning an MVP award back in 1999, and one of the big reasons he won that MVP. I can't tell you how much we hated to do that.
You didn't hate to do that. I knew this was coming. It's unbelievable.
Hitting 4 home runs in that series in September, one of them off the Bulldog.
I think Arch and Sully, one of them almost pulled a hammy pulling that thing on there.
So what was it like? I mean,
to give up a home run to Chipper Jones?
No, we don't have enough time. But the in his prime Chipper Jones, what was that like?
He could hit the ball like he knew what was coming. He'd foul off pitchers' pitches where you think you should have got him out, or he'd take one that was so borderline. And he's not only a talented hitter, he's a really smart baseball player.
You know, watching Kurt Schilling tonight talk about, on baseball night, back in the late 90s when Schill was striking out 300, this was a fun matchup because Chipper could hit anybody's fastball, and if you left it out over the plate, he could take you out to right center, left center, and he had some great battles with Schill.
One of the great switch hitters in baseball history. Josh Edgin, by the way, is a new pitcher for the Mets, and he just walked Chipper Jones on 4 pitches.
And Chipper's saying he's going to retire. And if he'd have enough at bats, he'd have been 7th in the league coming into the night in on-base percentage in the 370 area.
Now the Mets weren't the only team that he's done a lot of damage with.
No.
There's Tito
with hair.
Look at that hair.
There's that pitch you're talking about, taking him the oppo or fastball.
Well, he just got that one. Just got a
just
Oh, geez.
I knew I shouldn't have laughed when they put Oral.
Yeah.
If the score's 3-2, we don't see any of this stuff. 6-1, whatever it takes, rip on us.
Oh boy.
First overall pick, former MVP, batting champion, 8-time All-Star. Look out. Edgin drills Freeman right in the back. Wow. So Edgin walks a batter and hits a batter here to begin the 9th inning. Dan Warthen is out to talk to the left-hander with the Met closer Frank Francisco now up in the pen. Edgin, just a month in the big leagues, has been incredibly effective against left-handed hitters up until the point where he just drilled Freeman in the back. Lefties just 4 for 30 with 14 strikeouts against Edgin.
Of course, he didn't hit him on purpose. It's just an overthrown fastball to a very hot hitter.
So 2 on, nobody out for Dan Uggla. 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts.
When the ball gets thrown right there, though, and you know it's coming in the middle of your back, that's the worst second of your life, waiting for impact. Because there's nowhere to go.
Swing and a miss, 1-2. The Mets scoring in 5 different innings tonight. 2 in the first, and then 1 in the second, 5th, 6th, and 8th. Just kept adding on. And now the Braves try to mount a serious rally here in the 9th inning. Swing and a miss, Uggla gone. Aerial coverage tonight brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Tonight's night here in New York, and the Mets 2 outs away from a victory. Remember, Atlanta with an opportunity to pick up a game on Washington, with the Nationals losing for the first time in 9 games this afternoon, beaten by the Diamondbacks. But the Braves down by 5 here in the 9th, and if they lose, they will remain 4.5 back of the Nationals. Brian McCann 1 for 3.
And young Josh Edgen can't be a real comfortable at bat for left-hander. I mean, the statistics show they're hitting 133, and I know he hit a guy in the middle of the back, but he's throwing across his body. He's got that slider, cutter, whatever you want to call it, going away from the hitter. He's nasty.
There's the breaking ball, popped up, foul territory, and back out of play. 1-2 on McCann. Don't forget, tomorrow night on ESPN2, and then Wednesday night here on ESPN, the Texas Rangers and the New York Yankees. The ESPN games this week. 2 on, 1 out for the Braves. And a ground ball pulled foul. Rangers won again today, beat Detroit again. Oakland lost, and the Angels lost. Well, the Angels having trouble getting going, and they were beaten by Seattle 4-1 today. High in the air to shallow right. 2 down. Edgen trying to finish it off here tonight and secure a win for Jonathan Neese, tonight's Chevrolet Player of the Game. Neese with 8 strong innings, giving up just a run on 6 hits. Looking for his 9th win of the year. Ben Sheets in his 6th start as a member of the Braves, looking at taking the loss here tonight. Gave up 5 runs, 4 of them earned in his 6 innings tonight. The batter, Paul Janisch.
I still love the fact that Sheets stays in the dugout. I think players recognize that. Position players that are tired, I really think they appreciate that. On a night when it wasn't his best night, he stuck around.
He doesn't just stick around when he's ahead and watching his W and the team's W.
Two and 1 on Janisch. Chipper Jones at second, Freddie Freeman at first, 2 down. Just missed. 3 balls and a strike. Tyler Pasternicki is on deck. A pinch hitter in the pitcher spot should Janisch reach. And I would think that would probably be all for Edgen. If they got to the next spot, that Terry Collins would probably make the move for Francisco. We'll find out soon enough. Maybe waiting for Pasternicki to be announced, and here he comes. Now a save situation with a tying run into the on-deck circle, and Edgen walked 2, hit 1, could not finish it off in the 9th. So Francisco's services will be required tonight for the Mets. Top of the ninth inning, and the Mets lead the Braves 6-1, but the Braves have loaded the bases with 2 outs here. Still hoping to come up with that big hit. Make it interesting here in the ninth. Coming up next on SportsCenter, Sunday conversation with the PGA champ, Rory McIlroy. Did Rajai Davis of the Blue Jays make the catch of the year in baseball? LeBron James, Kevin Durant lead Team USA to gold. A 107-100 win over Spain at the Olympics today. And also Chad Johnson released by the Dolphins today after yesterday's arrest. The new pitcher for the Mets is right-hander Frank Francisco. And this is a save situation. The tying run in the on-deck circle. The bases loaded, 2 outs, a 5-run lead. This satisfies one of the criteria. Atlanta counters. Freddie Gonzalez counters with a pinch hitter. Batting for Pasternicki, who had been announced as a pinch hitter, is Juan Francisco. No relation to Frank Francisco. But this is a guy with some oomph in his bat. If he gets into one, he can make this interesting. And if he gets on somehow, Tito, you got Bourne and then Prado back to the top of the order. This one ain't over yet.
Juan Francisco's a good left-hand hitter, but he's really struggled pinch hitting. He's 4 for 31. And again, it's a young hitter that is having a tough time adjusting to this role.
1 for 3 lifetime against Frank Francisco. Bases loaded, 2 outs. And the former Cincinnati Red takes high ball 1. The Mets bullpen has been among the worst in baseball this season. Francisco looking for save number 20. Ball 2. And they're grumbling here at Citi Field. The Braves have not had a hit this inning. Edgin walked 2 and hit 1. Got a couple of outs. Now Frank Francisco on to try to finish it off. Oh. 3-0.
Going to have to earn it.
And a strike with Francisco taking all the way. 3-1. Michael Bourne is on deck if Francisco could reach. High in the air down the left field line, slicing toward foul territory and back out of play. And a full count. If that young man, does he know what's ahead of him? We have lots of friends who are Mets fans. It takes a hearty soul sometimes. Huh? The highest of highs sometimes. But some valleys mixed in with those peaks as well. Down to their final strike now, the Atlanta Braves. Runners are going. Pitch fouled back. There's the same kid on the last pitch. Now he can't even look.
He's learning young. That's a future manager.
Think he's going to have our hairdo before long? Again, the 3-2. And again out of play. Upcoming the 8th pitch of the at-bat. Frank Francisco and Juan Francisco. 2 down. The bases loaded for Atlanta. A tying run in the on-deck circle. Michael Bourne hoping for a chance. play again.
This will be the 9th pitch, and they've all been fastballs. A little chat before this one. And they've all been either down the middle or in the up and away quadrant. Some for a ball and some for a strike. I think with the size of this ballpark and the Grand Slam, really what the Mets are trying to avoid, I stay hard with the fastball. Don't speed his bat up. All the foul balls have been off to the late side. Strength against strength right here. Just try and beat him with your number one.
And another foul ball.
If he fouls off one more, Chipper Jones is going to need tomorrow off.
Been on the move on every pitch. He's fouled off 5 in a row, about to see the 10th pitch of the at-bat. Sure doesn't feel like a 5-run lead right now in the ballpark.
I guarantee you Terry Collins doesn't feel that way.
Low ball 4 on the appeal. He didn't go. Francisco walks in a run. It's 6-2, and the tying run is coming to the plate.
Hasn't been a hit this inning, Dan.
3 walks and a hit batter.
And this has also been the part of the Mets season.
Bourne with 9 home runs on the season, 1 for 3 lifetime against Francisco. Way high, ball 1.
He tried to throw something other than a fastball right there. He was not fully committed to that pitch.
And you see the way the Mets have aligned their defense. They're not playing no doubles. They just want to get an out and get the heck off the field.
You don't need to play no doubles with Michael Bourne because he's a double even if he gets a single.
Ball 2. Tejada in from short. Atlanta bullpen is busy right now. I don't see anybody throwing in the Mets pen. It would be Roush if Terry Collins decided to go to anybody, you would assume. A swing of the bat can tie it. And a strike. Now they're stirring out in that Met pen. Outside, 3-1 to Bourne, who does not have a major league grand slam. Fans didn't like it. Terry Collins may not have liked it, but it looked outside. And again, Francisco is working himself into a mess here. Walks in another run, the second batter of the row that Francisco has walked. 6-3. The tying run now at first, the go-ahead run coming to the plate, and Terry Collins is on the phone.
He's been thrown high and away, missed one low, and then he tries to make an adjustment on this fastball and just absolutely pulls it inside. He's saying to himself, I do not want to miss away. I'm going to make sure I get this to the inner half, and he just pulls it in there, almost throwing the ball before his front foot hits, which makes you jerk the ball.
What would you say here, Orel, as a pitching coach? I mean, you know Frank Francisco. You had him in Texas, I think, right? What would you say to him right now?
He's a very serious young man, and he wants to do the job, but I don't think he came in with the right attitude. When you come in throwing ball after ball after ball out of the bullpen as a closer, you either, A, don't have your mechanics and your rhythm, or mentally, you might not be taking it serious enough. But now, he better turn the page on what's happened and get serious.
John Roush up in the pen. Probably won't need long. He was up an inning ago. Martin Prado, the batter. And a strike. Two runs in, bases loaded, 2 outs, 4 walks, and a hit batter in the inning.
And now you see the Mets backing up their outfielders, trying to prevent Michael Bourne from scoring on an extra base hit.
0-2.
The good thing for Francisco on the mound, we go right to 2 strikes, is not only a visit to change the rhythm, but a right-handed hitter instead of a left-handed hitter. So now he's got a new visual when he looks in there to get an out.
A defensive swing there by Prado, just fouling it off. Again, the 0-2. Slice to right field for a base hit. 2 runs are home. Bourne flying around will be held at third on a double. It's 6-5.
Now, Frankie Francisco has thrown all fastballs and only 1 off-speed pitch in this inning. And he's only been there for a little bit. I tell you what, he throws a fastball again here, and Prado does a great job with a defensive swing. Fastball right down the middle in an 0-2 count. That's a mistake. Met fans are letting him hear it.
John Roush in to try to secure the final out of the game. Frank Francisco cannot get the job done. He walks the first 2 batters he faces, then gives up a double to Martin Prado. The Braves have scored 4 runs here in the 9th inning to make it 6-5. They've got runners at second and third with 2 down, and Terry Collins is forced to go to John Roush, who has 1 save this year. Generally speaking, he's the setup man, but he comes on in relief of Francisco, if you will, to try to clean up the mess and finish it off for the Mets. Tying run at third. Go-ahead run at second. All of the runs scoring with 2 outs. The batter, Jason Hayward, 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts in his career against Roush. Chasing a letter-high fastball, and he fouls it back. The Braves have great speed at third in Bourne and good speed at second in Prado. That hit by Prado was the first hit of the inning for the Braves. They've scored 4 runs on 1 hit thanks to the 4 walks and the 1-hit batter. The Mets bullpen, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, has been one of the worst in baseball this year. But even by their standards, this would be a gruesome defeat for this team. To be up 6-1, an out away in the 9th inning. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And on the other side of the coin, a gigantic win for the Braves, coupled with a Washington loss. What an unbelievable comeback this would be.
Up high, ball 2. Freddy Gonzalez has activated his bullpen in case there's a bottom of the 9th. Got the left-hander Eric O'Flaherty throwing. And Craig Kimbrell, the closer, was throwing. It's Kimbrell off to the left there, the right-hander. So they are both going to be ready to go if this game goes to the bottom of the 9th. 2-2. Again, the Braves down to their final strike, and again the Mets fans trying to summon the confidence to help out their team to secure a win here. Nice has watched the whole thing after his great 8 innings. You gotta believe, says the fan on the right. Roush and Hayward. Ball in the dirt, and just out at first base to end the game.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Awfully close at first base, but Roush strikes out Hayward, gets the save, and it's finally over. The Braves battle, but the Mets hang on to win by a score of 6-5. So Atlanta will remain 4.5 back of Washington. They cannot pick up any ground on the Nationals, who lost earlier today. And the Mets get a win to go to 55-60. As you take another look at the breaking ball, the slider in the dirt. And it took Rob Johnson a little while to find the ball. And Hayward, remember, he's got good speed. And this was pretty close down to first.
This was real close.
Half step. Wow. Too close if you're Terry Collins, but it's a W for the Mets. Nice the win, Roush the save. Atlanta still takes 2 out of 3, but they remain 4.5 back of the Nationals in the NL East after losing to the Mets 6-5 here at Citi Field tonight. Up next here on ESPN SportsCenter. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Oral Hershiser, Terry Francona, Buster Olney, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dan Shulman saying thanks for watching and so long from Citi Field.